I always found that really amazing. Yeah, and I had horses who were really teachers. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
I had a pony, and and then I was
My Little
12.
Pony.
Yeah, it was really, but he was really angry, and
Oh.
I was also really angry.
Okay.
So if you say like that, they really reflected in me what was there. I couldn't see it then. I was only angry, and the horse was also really angry. And then after that, I got a really big horse, and she was like really my mother.
Yeah.
And I think she gave me everything what my mother couldn't give me that
great.
moment.
Yeah.
And she taught me how to be patient. She taught me everything. And I was small, I was like 13, 14, and it was a big, big horse. And then I got a horse who was really young and really big and really blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then I could handle that. So it taught me a lot of being, being everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice.
Yeah.
But then when I was 21, 22, I stopped. I really was so sick of the horses because that was my life for more than my whole youth. I had horses. So I went to school, I worked, and I went to my horses 2 times a day.
Yeah.
So it was really a job, you know. It was like, I was so sick of it. I was like, I have to breathe. I want to go out. I don't want to have any responsibilities right now. So I stopped, and that was a moment that I went to Ghana. So that was also, amazing. And the horse I had then went to a friend of mine. She went moving, and she said, I want to take him. And I was like, oh, great, so I can go. And then with Givenchy, like 5 years ago, we went to South Africa. And then we met Leon and the horses, and
I don't know his name anymore.
no, I was also thinking. No, the horseman there. I don't remember his name now. No, and I saw then that you can work with horses on such another level, such another way of doing.
Yeah.
But I saw that what I did when I was young, I did it like intuition.
No
And
thinking.
No thinking.
No. No one taught you how to treat a horse. The horse taught you.
Yeah, of course I had lessons, but
Yeah.
now I'm really again learning things, and I see what I learn now. At that time I did it like for my intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really Christo. That was the man in South Africa. Yeah.
We're talking for 1 hour and 1 minute now. I'm thinking maybe that's nice to do as an ending. You can choose. Say something to Givenchy in camera, or say something to the version of you who will watch this in 10 years. What would you like to say to her?
Can we do both?
Yeah, of course.
I would like to do both.
Start with Givenchy. That's the main reason she brought us together here for this nice conversation. So, would you like to thank her, or maybe express your love for her, or
Already thinking of talking to Givenchy in this way brings tears to my eyes. I love you so, so much, and I can't express in words what it means for me to have met you and to still meet you and to connect heart to heart. I love you so, so much.
And I would like to say to Givenchy that I'm so thankful to give me this opportunity to live this life, meeting you, and to have this experience, and that I know that it could not have been otherwise. It could not have been otherwise that I would have met you, and that we met. And I thank you for that.
And thanks for the nice biscuits.
Oh my God, the cake!
Pastry.
Don't talk about it
The
because I
pastry.
get a bit nauseous.
The pastry we got with the coffee. Okay.
The whipped cream.
Yeah. Okay, and now the version of you when you're 42 years old.
42, eh? Yes.
If we're still alive.
Yeah, we
You
don't.
will never know.
Yeah, you're not gonna leave me alone.
No, I'm not leaving you.
What do you hope for? Are there still hopes, or is that all gone?
No, I have a lot of hopes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Take the floor.
Yeah, I will take the floor. Hello, Arunati, you will be? 44.
44.
My dream is to really live without fear. And to really that you will have your farm, and that you will live in nature, that you will have your horses, and that I will relive my youth and then being 44. And to have a farm where people can come and experience the horses as I want to experience them. And share with people what they have taught me and learned me, and to really enjoy that life.
Put me in it.
And there will be Nebu will be in the farm. Yeah, that's my dream. Yes. So if there are any people who have a farm left and some horses, then I will be willing
to donate.
Yeah, they have to donate.
Oh, donate to
me.
you. Okay.
You have to be clear about your dream.
Yeah.
So if you know a farm, a nice farm. Yeah.
Without a farmer. Or with a farmer would
if
be
he's
a problem.
young and he's single.
Farmer searches for a wife. Oh, there you go.
No, I want a farm.
Okay, just a farm.
Yes.
If you don't want to say anything, it's okay also.
I really like it. I really like the proposal, but I was curious about what you were going to say. Well, in 10 years, I'm 42.
Yeah, you're watching this now as a 42-year...
Say hello to yourself.
Dear Nebu, it's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Who could have thought that? Yeah, oh my God. Please see how beautiful you are right now and how full of life you are. I wish that you truly look into everything that comes across your path, and that you experience everything, your life to the fullest, fearless, open-minded and heartful, and I wish for you to keep on living your life that way, full of adventure, full of experiences, full of joy, and maybe also sorrow. And I hope that by now you've traveled through Africa in your four-wheel drive, and that you came home with your husband and a baby, and that you could live on the farm together with Arunati, where you can have your practice in coaching, meditation, and systemics. So I'm so curious. I can't wait.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you, for
Yes.
this nice talk.
Thank you so much.
Sitting here in beautiful Belgium with Jan Kerschot to talk about something that maybe can confuse a lot of people, because it's not a subject that you can easily talk about. But I saw your interviews in Japan, and also the interview we did in Dutch, and you are someone who can speak very passionately about this subject. Why are you so passionate about the subject non-duality, Advaita? What touches you?
I believe, Patrick, it's a subject that never fatigues the mind, because it's something which is beyond the mind, and the mind gets both frustrated and fascinated by that, because the mind knows there's something there, which some call an open secret. And on the other hand, mind feels very frustrated that it can't get its hand on it. You never can say, and I can't either, and nobody else can, I've got it. I've got it, I understood it, I've got it all. Now I have finished the job, I have done all the understanding, I got my PhD in non-duality. You will never get it.
Not
you can
possible.
write books about it,
Yeah.
and you keep on talking about it, but you will always, in the end, have to admit, I have failed. I failed in describing it, I failed in understanding it, I failed in feeling it. The only thing you can't fail is being it. And that's what we're all doing anyway. So that's the paradox. And this paradox will never leave you, and I think that is why you ask this question. This will never fatigue our search. It will never stop fascinating us, because when you're a seeker, and it may be a good thing or not a good thing, that's another subject. When you're a seeker, you feel something is lacking in life. Your ordinary day-to-day life, something is missing. Something that goes back to the days that you were 3 weeks old, so to speak. That open awareness that was there. And at some point when you grow up at the age of 2 or 3, it gets some sort of, you get lost. And you identify with the person you think you are, that others say you are. And at some point you start to miss that original open awareness. And then you become a seeker. And then of course you will go around and look for spirituality, philosophy, answers to questions. And some seem to give you answers, others don't, and you keep on searching. And for those who really want to know and don't want to make any compromises, they might end up into Advaita. And even there, the frustration will go on, because this is a subject that, as I said before, cannot be reached by a person. And in a way, you could say it's the person who's standing in the way. On the other hand, the person is not standing in the way because it's there anyway. So again, it's full of paradoxes. I will say one moment I will say this, and 5 minutes later I will say the opposite, and both will be true.
Yeah.
So this is something that readers of Advaita will have to get used to, because when you are reading a book of, let's say, conventional philosophy, then you just know that there is a very intelligent person writing down a story and that all goes as it should be. But here in Advaita you will always have these contradictions all the time.
Yeah. There are quite a few people nowadays who speak about Advaita.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they also point at each other and say, well, he's got it wrong, I've got it right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Can you get this wrong? Can you get this right?
No, of course not. You're right. I think I agree with you in a way, and I think maybe in one of my books I've done something similar, like saying, and it doesn't matter. In the end, nobody's wrong or right about this. Non-duality means there is no division between left and right, high and low, me and you. So where would I find inspiration to say that this person is less than the other one? So even if someone is obviously compromising, okay, then that's what's happening. That's the expression of beingness, of the non-dual reality or energy or life, whatever you want to call it. It's expressing itself in that particular teacher who is allowing his devotees to kiss his feet or to walk around in a white robe or whatever he or she wants to sort of prove himself or herself to the audience, that he or she is special and maybe above the others. Then that's life. It's part of life.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really wrong with that either. And that's maybe liberating, because when you become a teacher, and I can't speak for the others, but I remember when I was, then you start to read books about heroes, spiritual heroes. Like 15-year-old boys or girls have their heroes in music or in the Hollywood scene. Then you have your spiritual heroes. Some of them living, some of them have died. And you have these books and these movies of these perfect people who were expressing eternal love and unconditional love and perfect peace and all of that. Yeah. And you think to yourself, well, I'm not like that. Because when I look in the mirror in the morning, I see a normal person who has arguments, who has frustrations, who has pain, and is not living in this perfect harmony 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this 24/7 program that you should have according to some rule, you're not going to make it. And I think you never will, because you're only human. Yeah. Thank God you're not some sort of spiritual floating energy. No, you're a real human with a head and a heart and legs and relationships and things you want and things you don't want. What's wrong with that? I mean, let's just let them be there.
Yeah. So there's no such thing as enlightened behavior?
No, of course not. No, not even enlightened beings, because that's a contradiction in terms. If we're talking about non-dualism, I'm not talking about the spiritual, let's say, the usual spiritual heroes who are described as perfect beings. I'm talking about non-dualism now in this interview. And when you say non-dualism, it means you do not divide it into two, right? So there is not two, it's only one. But you can't say one because one is already suggesting that
there's something other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is only what is, right? So you can't make any divisions anymore. And that's something that a lot of people have find very difficult to accept, that you can't have a high without a low, that you can't have the left without the right. You can't have the past without the future. You can't have a North Pole without the South Pole. If we accept that, and that's what non-dualism is really about, then it becomes extremely difficult to say this person has it, this other person hasn't. Because that's right. But that's duality, and the world is full of duality. Language is made of duality, the brain works on duality. But once you say left is bad, right is good, then you add a label. You give value to the one or the other. It's like saying the North Pole of the Earth is good and the South Pole is not good. In non-duality you can't do that. So there's always this balance. But when you come up close and you look at a particular person or a particular event, you could say, oh, this sounds very bad, what he did or what happened there and so forth. That's true. But that is because you're focused on a very small area. Like a photographer would use a telelens. He can focus and zoom in into that area and say, yes, this is good or this is bad. But once you zoom out, when you get a broader view, then you can see the balance. And for example, when you are on the beach and you look at the ocean, you see one horizontal line. But maybe if you would come closer, if you would zoom in, maybe there is a storm there with very high waves and very low waves. And the person who is sitting in a little boat in that storm would say, oh my God, I'm in the middle of the storm. Now I'm going down all the way and now I'm going up. He is completely into that experience. But when you take a distance, literally, then you see that there's still a balance, despite the storm that particular person thinks he or she is in.
Yeah. You just told me at the dinner table that for you there's a difference between non-duality and non-dualism.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about that difference?
Yes, I think it was what I just pointed out a bit, that the division between left and right and North Pole, South Pole, that's duality. And we need duality in order to communicate, in order to have a conversation, in order to
play.
Communicate. Exactly. So there is no way out. So duality is perfect. And then the second part is, you say left is bad, right is good. Then you create dualism. You create an additional division.
Yeah.
Because you give value. You say these are the good guys, these are the bad guys. So for example, if you talk about political parties, those who are from the left side will say that the right side are not so good, and the right side will say we are the good ones and they are the bad ones. And that's also not just in politics, but also in religion, countries, but also on a smaller level in relationships and so forth. So the duality is just the division North Pole, South Pole, left and right, and dualism is you give additional value, that's good and that's bad. And this is something which is so much integrated in our brain, in our education from centuries. I mean, the whole, let's say the whole cultural life of the earth, of our humanity is based on this. So I don't expect that we just discard it and we say, well, it's not true. That's too hard to do. But when you're talking about non-duality and non-dualism, then I think we have to sort of look at this matter and see, yes, maybe this is just an additional program, because what you think is right may be wrong for me, and vice versa. If you are from a different religious group than I am, then killing someone is good for you but not good for me, and vice versa. So it's because we are opposite. You're sitting there looking at me and I'm looking at you. My right side is there.
Yeah.
My left side is there.
Yeah.
And because you're looking at me, you have the opposite vision. So it's already so obvious. But if you would stand next to me and we look the same way, then both would say that that's right and that is
Yeah.
left. So it's all a matter of perspective. It's all a matter of how we look at things. And when you look at things as a person, then there is left and right, there's good and bad, and that's fine. Because that's the world of duality, the world of dualism. But when we're talking about non-duality, you're not looking out from a personal entity anymore. You're looking as beingness. I don't have a better word for that. Beingness even with a capital. Like, for me, the most sacred world, but I wouldn't call it sacred or holy, is to be. Just to be, because that is the magic. And it's all something that where nobody is excluded. Everybody is doing it.
Yeah. Being.
And you're doing it naturally. You don't have to put any effort into
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I think it's a great, let's say, start for people who are new into Advaita to say, let's do something that takes no effort. You just sit here, you watch this video, and you just sit there and there is nowhere to go. No expectations. You don't have to feel in a particular way. Maybe you have pain, maybe you have frustrations, or maybe you feel fine, maybe you feel balanced or in peace. It doesn't matter. And you don't expect anything for the next 5 minutes to happen to you or to your life or your spiritual search or whatever. Just this. Your normal, everyday consciousness. It has never been away. Where would it go? Where would you go in order to find it? What would you do to improve it? There is nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And once you, it's not an understanding, it's not a seeing, but once that's really, really clear, a lot of the old programs and expectations like, I should be more like this, I should be more like him, or like her, or like that spiritual hero, or yesterday I was still having a fight with that person, so I'm not there yet. I should always be in peace and love everyone and everything. Once you realize the law of duality, you know this is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And it doesn't have to. Just being. And this simple being is not simplified in the sense that nothing is happening. Life is happening. Life happens anyway. Whether you like it or not, whether you're trying to steer it or not, it's going to happen anyway. And when you see that, it just flows. And there you go with the good moments and the so-called bad moments. But you know that these are only labels in your mind. And that just can go on. And then the spiritual search seems to have lost its power. The fan may still be running for a few moments or for a time or for a while. But who is the person who's looking for it? That's why I would never, let's say, impose people to have certain techniques like meditation or whatever in order to reach something. Because I would ask, who is the meditator? Have you ever found a meditator? If you decide, okay, tomorrow morning from 8 to 8:30, I'm going to meditate. When you sit there, just do it. Just check, where is the meditator? Have you ever found a meditator? Did you find a little man or woman inside this head of yours? I've been in, I'm not a surgeon, but I've been in surgery many times, and I assisted even to brain surgery, and we have never found a little man or a little woman inside the brain. Nobody ever had. And even with the newest scanners, we don't find anyone there. It's an idea, which is a wonderful idea, it's a practical idea, it's great, but it's an idea, it's a concept. And a concept is something that happens like for 1/10 of a second. It's not there all the time. We think that the ego or the person is there 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's not. When you think about how many images come in your mind, visual, auditive, tactile, ideas, feelings, emotions, let's say that there are one every 10th of a second. And so you have hundreds of thousands of those images on a daily basis. One of them is, I am a person. I am a limited person, I'm sitting in here. But the next one is, oh, it's warm here, or it's cold, or the phone is ringing, or I should go there, or next week I'm going on holidays, or whatever. So you have plenty of thousands and thousands of images. And once in a while, several times a day, there is, I am this person. Thoughts, images, all of them, appearing on the screen. So aren't we giving that particular thought too much attention? Is it really worth that much value? Isn't it overrated, as we could say?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
And in non-dualism, it's just seen for what it is. Not underrated, not overrated, for what it is. An image that appears several times a day for a split second. While we were eating, while we were drinking, even while we were talking about non-duality, where was the person? Where was the Patrick? Where was Jan? When I am at the border, when I travel and I go to the airport and they ask me to show me the passport, I show the passport and they check my name, they check the face, I say, yes, that's you. And maybe for that split second I say, yes, I am this person. If they ask me, I will say yes. Otherwise they put me into a mental hospital.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, the rest of the day when I'm walking with my luggage and checking in and sitting in the plane, I'm not all the time thinking, I'm a person, I'm Jan Kerschotel or whatever. No. Even when you look in the mirror the next morning and you're shaving or you're brushing your teeth, I mean, is that person, that image on the other side of the mirror, is that you?
Yeah. And we know that, Jan. We have this every day, every year, also here in Belgium and in Holland, we have this festivities called Carnival.
Mm-hmm.
We put on another mask.
Mm-hmm.
The town gets another name.
Yes.
We dress up like a clown or like a police officer. We love to lose our identity and act another identity for 2 or 3 days. These 2 or 3 days, I'm the nurse.
Yes.
I'm the king. I'm the king of the world. So
whatever you want.
Freeing.
Yes.
Because I can take
You
off
can let
that
go.
old
Yes.
jacket.
Yes.
Be someone fresh, someone new.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people also what's happening. But I think it's not only in those events. I think even while you're walking down the street,
Yeah.
even when you're driving your car, even when you're sitting and watching television or a movie, where is the ego? So when these traditions, some of the traditions, you have to get rid of the ego because the ego is not so good.
Mm-hmm.
First you have to find it.
Yeah. It makes it into something.
Yes, you give it value.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, oh my God, this is very ego-like behavior or whatever. You shouldn't have egocentric thoughts or ideas or feelings, you should, whatever. But first, if you can't find the ego, what or who are we talking about?
Yeah.
And if it's only an image that appears, let's say, 100 times even a day or a week, even then it's like, and the rest of the day, the 24/7, and then we still admit that there is time, because that's the next subject, like what's time. But if we still accept that time is there, that there is a past and a future and a now, which is of course not true, but if we accept that, then this idea of ego is only like that.
Yeah.
So how you don't have to fight it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are sitting with the guru in India or whatever, and they say, oh my God, I had this wonderful experience, and when I'm sitting here in the ashram, it's wonderful, and I feel so peaceful, but I am afraid when I come home, it will all be gone, and I will be in normal life again. I mean, normal life is as much an expression of beingness than feeling peaceful or happy in the group. There is no difference for beingness. The point of non-duality is not what you have sometimes. It's what is there all the time, which is beyond time. It doesn't even enter the idea of past, now or future. So it's never been away. So how can you look for it?
It's no experience.
No, and it cannot be experienced. If someone says, I have experienced oneness, come on. No, nobody can. Or I am without thoughts for more than 10 years now. I mean, come on. And what's wrong with thoughts appearing? There are clouds passing by, okay. Maybe we prefer the blue sky, but sometimes we need some clouds as well. So, okay, there is a cloud. There is a bad thought or a good thought. Even the idea that the thought is good or bad. It's only, again, another image of these thousands of images every day. So I think that's a very easy way to approach non-duality. Just this, and never stops. And you can't You think that you can manage it, and it's okay to feel like that. I think it's okay to think you have free will and all that. Why not? Pretend to have a personal life. Pretend to do this and to do that and to work on the better. It's only a pretend. But deep down, inside, you know, life is just doing its thing. The stars are moving, the earth is turning around, and we are on this planet for... If you look at this in the time, and the earth is here 70 years or 100 years, it's nothing. It's like the wave in the oceans, you know, the classic metaphor, which I still love, is the wave just comes there, you get born and you die, and that's the wave. It's in real life, the wave is 1 second or a few seconds if it's a big wave, and that's your life. And you are very worried about all these little details happening during that coming and going of that wave, and you wonder how it's like with the other waves. So you look around and you want to be like the other waves and feel the wetness of the water, but the water can never feel the wetness because it's wetness itself. So if you go and see your teacher, say, I want to feel how it's like to be oneness, but you are already it. I remember that I was in London at Watkins bookshop, and we had a sort of meeting there about when the book was launched. I think it was Nobody Home, and one of the ladies said to me, but how can I feel this? I want to feel this oneness. I want to feel it all the time. And I remember saying to her, but when you say this, I feel that you are a wave asking another wave, please, I want to feel how it's like to be wet. And I said to her, you're as wet as you can be, because we're both made of water and we're all part of this ocean, and for these 50 or 18 years that we are going to be on this planet, we are going to have this rising and falling of personal life, which looks very real, but I can't make you even more wet than you already are, because you're made out of wetness, because we're both made of water.
Yeah.
And maybe you have had an experience where it felt so nice. It's like, I sometimes compare it with the ice cube in a glass of water or in a lake of water. And you feel limited, but when the water temperature is rising, you disappear into the water, which you were before, during and after your life. And I think for some people this metaphor works for them. They realize that what they really are has never been lost. There's nothing that they have to do to get it. You don't have to change your behavior, you don't have to change your clothes or the way you look or the way you talk. What you are is your particular expression, apparently of course, of beingness. And that is why I like the word beingness so much, because it has no religious connotation. It doesn't sound Indian, or it doesn't sound Christian, or it doesn't sound... I'll say it again. Nobody is excluded. This means that you, me, but someone here walking by in the street is not excluded from this. You can be excluded from a religious organization because you don't wear the right clothes, or you don't pray the right prayers, or you don't eat the right food, but you can never be excluded from this.
But also the chair and the lamp and
of course,
the cows in the garden are
exactly
not excluded.
Nothing can be excluded. But if we're talking about seekers, spiritual seekers, they sort of hope to join a group and then be part of a club with a master, and then that will give them more value. I think we are more important because our master is so important. And they maybe consciously or subconsciously might exclude those who are not praying or not meditating or not behaving as they do. And I think for me it's very important that nobody can be excluded. So it's very democratic. But without any politicians, just democratic.
Universal.
Universal, and everybody's different, because I think I like the differences. I like that you are different from me, and that men are different from women. That is what life makes life. But still, there is an equality regarding the value. I'm not valuing someone higher or lower because they are famous or they are a man and not a woman, or vice versa. All equal. And equal is not the same. It means the same value. And I think that happens when you start to, or rather, if you would stop to sort of add labels to people or events.
Yeah. Could you say that the less labels you put on yourself, the less labels you put on...
Probably, yes. I think on the others you mean? Yes.
Yeah.
I think so. It could be. But I don't think that it's now wrong to put labels.
Mm-hmm.
If I see something happening on television, I say, how can they be so stupid?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a normal reaction.
Yeah.
This is not a reason for me to think, oh, I'm still labeling, so I'm not there yet. No.
But for you, maybe the difference is that you say that about that character on the TV, but that doesn't mean that from now on, that character or that person will never get rid of that label. It's just an opinion in the moment.
And it's gone.
It's gone.
1 second later,
and maybe
it's gone.
the day later you love him and you say, oh, what a great guy it is.
Because you live in the moment.
Yeah.
I like the comparison when you talk about this. When you get, when you're very identified, and now I'm contradicting myself, of course, but if there is a lot of identification with your person and your values, religious or political or whatever, then someone compared it. I like the comparison with being like a stone. I mean, you're very strong, or you feel strong, but when someone hits you, for example, with a knife, it leaves a scar.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
to go in, but it leaves a scar which is there for weeks, months, or years. When you're less identified with that personality, you become more like sand. The knife goes deeper, but after a few days, the wind passes by and it's gone.
Yeah.
And when you're even more, let's say, or less identified, you're like water. The knife goes in all the way, but it doesn't leave any scar.
Yeah.
And I don't want to project a sort of ideal state where you are like the wind or like air and any knife can do anything and nothing happens to you, because that would again become an ideal state that you have to go for. Like, oh my God, I have to be like the sand and not get irritated if my partner gets angry with me or when something happens on the television that irritates me. So that is again the sort of usual trap that you think, oh, I have to get there as well. I need to be different than I am now. But how can I give you your true nature? How can I learn you to be what you are? Because you're already being it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you are, or the fact that things are, or that things happen, that means that it is as it is. And that's for me the most holy thing there is. Without needing any religious system or spiritual tradition that supports me or confirms me. I don't need to use any spiritual terms from India or China or wherever, because this is about common life, everyday life. We don't talk about 7 steps to heaven or very exclusive clubs where they have holy books where only a few have access to and so forth. This is the common life. Every day, whenever you wake up, that's it. There is no escape. You can't find it, but there is no escape.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. That is so amazing.
You
You cannot lose it.
You look very happy when you say that.
Yes, but happiness is not the goal. Happiness and being in peace is not a characteristic of this. Not at all.
But still, when you speak about it, your eyes shine.
Yes, but
full of enlightenment.
that's because you want to share.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you can't share this because it's already there, whoever you are. Even if you're not interested in Advaita, it's equally there.
Yeah. We don't have to get out on the streets with big signs who say, get into Advaita.
No.
You have to hear this. That was the first thing I
heard. We all have that.
I wanted to go to the TV station and say, we have to put this on the 8 o'clock news.
Exactly.
This is the greatest news ever.
Yes. But that will most likely be very counterproductive.
Yeah, you get cured from that.
Yes, and also I think this subject is not at all interesting for people who are not feeling this lack.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we are the good guys or the bad guys, but if you talk to let's say people,
normal people, yeah.
yes, maybe people who are not interested in this, they say, what are you talking about? Come on, let's talk about something interesting. Because for the mind, this is not really interesting. Because the mind wants something to do.
To grasp.
A plan, to compare, to construct, to deconstruct, whatever. To criticize, to label, that's what the mind loves to do.
Yeah.
And there's also not much emotion involved. So the heart is also not so addressed here. Unless you sort of really see that everybody is this and nobody's excluded, that's also a form of openness for all and everything.
Yeah.
Which could also be, let's say, opening of the heart. And so in the beginning, Advaita looks very cool and cold. And I must admit that I have written texts after, let's say, more in the beginning of this, like 10 years ago, or in the early 2000s years, that might sound very cold and distant. Because when you discover this, it may sound very harsh. But on the other hand, and it's also what Tony Parsons says, this is also something like a complete openness for all and everything.
He calls it the beloved.
Yes. I don't use that word because I don't understand what he means with it, and I'm not English native, so I don't know what it really means. But I would say that it's not that you start to love everyone and everything. I mean, that would be ridiculous, and that's not the goal. But it's like seeing or even recognizing the oneness, the beingness in everyone. You look in someone's eyes, maybe it could be a murderer, or maybe it could be a saint or a sage, and still you know that the energy through which he looks or she looks at you is the same as yours to him or her. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's oneness. That's for me the unconditional love. But it not means that you have to hug everybody on the streets.
No free hugs.
Or that you no, I mean, that's another subject, but that's not non-duality.
No. Talking about good or bad, good old Shakespeare once said, "There's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so."
Yeah.
What's that with thinking? Is that thinking the thing that gives us the sense of me? It creates duality, but it's not bad. It's included also, so it has a function.
Yes.
What is the function of thinking for you?
Well, I would say that thinking is something that happens naturally, like clouds passing by. And you have your thoughts, and I have mine, apparently. And I think maybe thoughts are a bit overrated. I think thoughts are interesting for practical life, otherwise we would not have the technology we have today. That's the difference that we made over the years, over the centuries, that has created a world for us that is unique and wonderful, but also has its less interesting sides, let's say, put it that way, like creating weapons as well as poetry, music as well as wars. That's all created through our human capacity to think in abstract ideas and past and future and so forth. I think I see thinking as valuable or interesting on that level. When we talk about non-duality, thinking is rather, let's say, it can be again a tool, and it could also be a curse. Like, yeah, you can talk about non-duality as we do, but as I said in the beginning, I will always fail in describing it. But I can be able to describe what it's not. By taking away what it's not, maybe something's left that the viewer will recognize as, yes, this is it. There is something here, which is now looking at this video, hearing the sounds, seeing the images, the hands moving, the face, the two eyes, the mouth, and there is something here on my side of the viewer that takes it all in, which is open space. It has to be silent, otherwise there can't be any sounds coming in. It has to be white, like a white screen, otherwise there can't be any colors coming in, and so forth. So I think that the viewer can recognize that this pure awareness is already there, and you don't have to do anything to be aware of this. Even if you say, I'm not aware, you first have to be aware to be able to say you're not. You can't, even if you deny it, you have to be there first. So even if you close your eyes, still images will come, still sounds will come in. I mean, you can't escape from this.
There's a Dutch teacher who once said, it doesn't take any effort to feel that you are really tired. So there must be something that is not touched by being tired.
Exactly.
Being excited, being angry, being frustrated.
Yes. Yeah.
And that being
yes.
is what you're talking about.
Yes. Let's say, when we explain this, we sometimes use the metaphor of the witness. And it's only a metaphor, so it's not for 100% correct, but you could imagine that you're in a movie theater, in a cinema, as we call it here, and you're sitting in a chair, you have in front of you, you have a white screen, in the back of you, you have a white light. And you watch your movie of your life. And there's always one image every 10th of a second, and images come and come and come, and you are, in this metaphor, a witness of your life. That's step number one. I don't like to use steps because there are no steps, but I have to now to explain this. You see, language is sometimes a burden. But so you look at your life and you see your life happening in front of you with the sounds, the vision, the emotions, everything is on the screen. Then, and that's more typical for Advaita, you ask yourself, am I sitting in the chair watching with my consciousness behind me spreading the light on the image, or the person who is watching is also on the screen? So instead of sitting in a chair, you are on the screen. And so you're like a two-dimensional flat thing on the screen along with all the rest that's happening. So there's no one in the room. And then you have this white screen and you have the light. And then the third step, again there are no steps, but the third step in this story is that the source of the light and the white screen are one. And then you have a plasma screen or a LED screen where the source of light, the images are one. And that is, I think, the best metaphor I can give you to explain what this non-duality is all about. And you, the person you think you are, is an image that once every hour or 10, 20 times a day appears as an image on that screen. That's all. And when you, as a person, are on that screen, two-dimensional flat screen, it's not two-dimensional in reality, but in the metaphor it is, and you meet another, let's say, guru says, I want to know the light. Where should I go? The other guy says, oh, the light is everywhere. What do you mean everywhere? I don't see it. But you are the light. You can't see it because you are the light. You are on the screen, on the LED screen, on the plasma screen. So there's no way that anyone can bring you there. There's no transmission of the flame. There was a book, I think, by G. Krishnamurti, the title was Transmission of the Flame. Because sometimes in this situation of satsang, you have the sensation that something of this that cannot be described sort of energetically flows through the room. And this is something that is experienced many times, and this is something universal and a very interesting subject. But you cannot transmit the light from one person to another. But in these settings of, call it satsang, or whenever two or more people are talking about this subject, the ego may be checkmated, doesn't know where to go. I mean, no time, no space, nobody's excluded, I don't have to be different. In that sort of setting, it could be that just the light comes in, but the light was never anywhere else. It was always there, but maybe the screens we have in front of our eyes, where I should be this, I should be that, the past, future, good and bad, when they disappear, oh my God, you're back in the baby situation, 3 weeks old. Yeah. I mean, when you remember, well, we can't remember. Most people don't remember how they were when they were 3 weeks old, but you wake up and you look around and you see the ceiling and suddenly you see a foot appearing. It's your own foot, but you don't know it's your own foot. You hear a sound, but you don't say, oh, this is my mother. Oh, that's my father. You see images, sounds, and then you hunger. That's an appearance here, but you don't know that it's hunger. And then you cry, but you don't know even that you are crying. You don't know if you're a boy or a girl. You don't know
name.
Nothing.
No.
That openness has never been away. But then your parents started to point at you like, you are a boy. That's your name. You are Patrick. And you are. And when you grow older, you are a good boy or a bad boy. You see, dualism. You should do this, you should do that, you should not go there, you should not talk to this person, you should not, and so forth. So all these programs, they get stuck in you, and that is when you lose this open, or apparently lose, because you can't lose, but apparently lose this openness, which has never been away. And then, after a while, some of us, not all, seem to miss this. consciously and start to look for it, and they become seekers. And some of them have spiritual experiences where suddenly they think they see the light. It's like in the movie, the film breaks and suddenly you have a white screen. Suddenly you say, oh my God, this is not real, there is something else. I've seen the light. And there are many stories over the last 2000 years of people having seen something that they can't explain. And this can be a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in the sense that you see or experience, but I can't use the word experience here, you see that what all these books were talking about, like about non-duality, that this is something which is real. It's not just a theory. That's the blessing. But the curse is that you want it for yourself and you want it continuously. And then you become a frustrated spiritual seeker because you have felt it and you want it again because it felt so good. But there you are back in the horse race. You're back looking for something that you want for yourself now and the future. And you want it, that the other ones don't have it, it's not your problem. You want it for yourself.
Yeah. And sometimes the ego gets hold of it and says, now I'm special.
Of course.
I've seen the light. I'm a light worker, or
yes.
I'm an enlightened
enlightened
master.
being, yes, exactly. Which is also fine. I'm not judging that or saying that it's bad or that it's wrong, but it's a mechanism, it's a phenomenon that happens in the world. And once you see through this game, you can still enjoy watching it like you watch a movie, but you know that it's a game that's played. And that's not what I believe, this is my personal opinion, that this is what non-duality and non-dualism is really about.
Yeah.
It's about that which has never been away, that doesn't take any effort, which is there for all, for everybody, nobody's excluded, but nobody has it. So that's why they sometimes call it an open secret. It's open because everybody has access, it's not locked, the door is open. And on the other hand, it's a secret, but because only a few people seem to sort of understand it. But doesn't mean that there's people who understand it or write books about it or give talks about it, that they are of a higher level. Because that would be duality again.
Yeah.
I've said this before, and I also wrote it in the book, This Is It. There are three, let's say, very popular tools of the ego to keep on searching. And one of them is time, past and future. I don't have it now, but I will have it in the future, so I'm going to work for it. That's the first one. The second one is the idea of separation between me and the others, which is the most difficult one for the most people, to understand that the division between me and the others is something that is talked into our heads, which is conceptual, not real. And then the third one, high and low. Like that is good and that is bad. This is of a higher energy and this is a lower energy. And these three tools are for the ego, let's say, the perfect tools to postpone, apparently of course, I always have to say apparently, the sort of understanding of what this is all about.
Yeah. I once heard, I think it was Byron Katie say, only an ego would try to get rid of ego.
Which it can't. I think it reminds me a little bit of the story of this policeman in Texas, and he has received from his wife and Harley Davidson for his birthday. Beautiful bike in front of his house, and on Saturday morning he starts to clean it. And he suddenly receives a phone call. He walks into his house. It's his brother who is in the hospital, and he's talking with his brother, and suddenly he hears vroom, a very recognizable, beautiful sound of his bike. He says, oh my God, someone is stealing my bike. So he puts down the phone, runs out, and sees someone driving away with this beautiful bike. And he gets angry, he jumps into his car, follows the guy, and the guy drives into the port. And it's a very remote area where you can stock cars and where you can stock things behind these, these gates in iron. And so he follows the guy and he sees him opening one of those gates, puts the bike in there. He says, oh my God, I'm going to lose my bike. He runs after it, says, hey, this is my bike. They start to fight. And during the fight, he puts the guy against the wall and he hits his neck and he dies right at the spot. The policeman says, oh my God, I've killed the guy. He was only a thief. So I'm now the murderer. And so he says, what am I going to do? Nobody has seen this. I'm going to put my bike away. I leave the guy here. I erase all the
Tracks.
all the
Yeah.
tracks, because he's a professional, closes the gate, cleans everything, puts his bike away, then drives back home and goes back home. Next Monday, he comes at his work, he's a police officer, and police officer says, "Oh, I need you because we have just arrived the message that someone was killed, and we have to investigate, and you can do it, huh? Because you're good at this." And now he is both investigator and murderer.
Murderer at the same time.
Exactly. And that is the situation of the spiritual seeker.
He will never give up. He will never say who did it, because
Exactly, because the ego, if the ego finds the killer, he gets the electric chair.
Yeah, yeah.
The policeman, when he finds the
Yeah.
killer,
Yeah.
he has to say, "I did it."
Yeah.
Oh, we are in Texas, you get the electric
Yeah,
chair.
yeah, yeah.
So he knows that when the final search,
Yeah.
when the search finds the let's say the final step,
Mhm.
it will be the end of the searcher.
Yeah. The case will never be closed.
And that is why that the ego is so good to find always a new way to
Let's
postpone
try
it.
this. Let's try that.
Let's admire a special guru
Yeah.
who is perfect or seems to be perfect. So I can never be like him or her. That's one of the examples, but there are so many.
Yeah.
And that is fascinating in a way. It's not wrong. I'm not saying that it's not wrong because it's just a phenomenon. It's also what is. It's also what's happening. Like murders happen and people helping each other also happen.
Yeah.
There are many things happening. I'm not judging and saying this is good or bad. It's just a mechanism that I'm exposing here because we're talking about the subject.
Yeah.
But this is really fascinating. The spiritual seeker will never be able, it's even impossible, to sort of,
Stop seeking.
yes, because that's
That's the end of the seeker.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So there is no way around this, and that's the paradox again. And I would say it's interesting to just look at these mechanisms and maybe recognize them. When you watch a video like this, it means that you're interested in Advaita, if you're still watching now. So then you might say, yes, what am I doing? Or what can I say people doing around me? I've been around it myself and been into spiritual groups and reading the books and going to talks and so forth. And I saw so many things that I did and that I saw around me that I learned so much from. The another thing that I think is very interesting is that you can have great spiritual experiences, and as I said before, they can be a blessing and a curse. And especially when you were in lightning happening to you, yes. But the problem then, if you can call it a problem, is that you think that this lightning that strikes you is the standard, the new standard to meet, that you have to have this every day. Every morning you need to have your lightning, and that's not going to happen. Because it's like you are sitting in a cellar and you're locked up there for 20 years. Then someone comes in and takes a match and strikes a match.
Light.
Whoa! But you haven't seen light for 20 years. It's like your eyes will burn. You say, oh my God, what is this? And then after a few seconds, the light goes out and it strikes another one again. You're still excited, but not as much as the first time. And after a while, they put 3-4 candles. You get used to it. So the light is only striking in the very beginning. And I think a lot of spiritual seekers who have had special experiences get stuck in that phase. They say, oh my God, that Monday morning or that day when I was with the Master, I felt, whoa, and now I'm back home, or now I feel bad. It has nothing to do with the white screen in the front of the cinema theater doesn't come and go. And it's even not touched by it. If you go to a movie and you see a Western and there's a lot of shooting and the movie stops, the lights go on and you walk down and you check the canvas.
Holes.
No holes, exactly. There are no holes because and this may sound cool, but it's not. The white screen is untouched by the good things and the bad things, not by the pleasure and not by the pain, because it's the capacity for all. It's the witness of the witness. Because I was talking about the man sitting in the chair watching his own movie, and that sometimes in some, let's say, spiritual techniques you can learn to be a witness, to sort of take a distance. And that may sound cold, and sometimes it is a bit like that you take a distance, like, oh, it's not happening to me, it's just a movie, right? So you take a distance, but in fact, when you see that there is no person, that distance is completely gone. And there is no judgment anymore, but there can still be compassion arising. It's not excluded. But sometimes when you talk about life this way, when you talk about, compare it with a movie, you are disturbing people. Because you said, we're not going to go out the street and say, this has to be in the 9 o'clock news or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like you're sitting in a movie. It's a great movie. And then someone comes in, switched off on the lights and said, it's only a movie.
Yeah,
what will the owner say?
Yeah, shut
we
up.
paid for this. We have to continue because it's a great story.
It's so fascinating.
Maybe if it's a horror movie or romantic movie,
Yeah.
we want to see the movie.
Yeah.
And that's why the movies, that's how the movie is made for.
For me, that's always when someone sits behind me and someone says, that's not possible. I think, come on.
Don't comment.
Let me enjoy this.
Let me just see the movie as it is. And that's why in some cases, talking about Advaita, for people who are not interested in this, is very disturbing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like talking in the movie while they are watching the movie. Like, hey, someone is behind you and saying it's only a movie, this is not real or whatever.
It's the same when two children are playing like father and mother or nurse and doctor, and you come on, you are 4-year-old, you are not a nurse. You don't do that. You don't spoil it for people and children.
Well, and that's what you might be doing when you force people into, let's say, this kind of talks.
So only if you're interested.
Well, you won't be watching now.
No, but maybe you think, I have to send it to my friends.
No, don't become a sort of messenger or a prediker, someone who wants to sort of really transmit his ideas. That's not, I don't think that's a goal. But if it's happening, that's also what it is.
Yeah. To close this almost 1 hour talk, you brought out several books in different languages. Mm-hmm. People can watch this all over the world. Your book, one of your books has just been translated into Japanese.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
That's Nobody Home.
Yes, let's say we've put them here especially for that. The first one, well, the first one was Coming Home, but that is sold out. But the second one was published in London. It's called Nobody Home. Mm-hmm. And then the second one was This Is It, also by Watkins in London. Mm-hmm. And then there is a third one called The Myth of Self-Inquiry, which is published by Non-Duality Press, also in the UK. And some of them have been translated in Spanish or Russian or also Dutch,
Japanese,
French, Korean, and a few more.
Yes. And can if people are interested in getting you to their town or country to talk about this, are you open to that?
Yes, well, because most of these books were written between, let's say, 2000 and 2004 in that time, and afterwards I didn't, let's say, go into that much, because I was busy with other things where I had to travel a lot. But these days I am open again for these kind of talks, and that's why I went to, for example, to Tokyo to promote the Japanese version of Nobody Home, and I might be going there again this year, or other areas. I think it's, as you said, when you feel there is someone who is interested in this subject, there is no way not to talk about it, because there is like a pulling energy. It's like something that interacts, and for example in Tokyo we were with a group, and we were having a sort of a small meeting, and one of the ladies said, I feel the resonance here in the room, but it was not my resonance, it wasn't even hers. It's just when the egos don't have anything to get their hands on, to grasp on, then you just simply relax in what is, and then you sense, oh, hey, this is really happening, it's true, yes, it is, of course it is. But usually our minds are so into left and right, and past and future, and I should be like this, and the world should be like that, and that is something that, when that's taken out of it, it's like, oh.
Yeah. That's maybe also why these interviews don't really seem to cost any effort or
No,
energy.
no.
We could talk about this for another hour.
Exactly,
And
yes.
we're still sitting very untired here. And
Exactly, yes.
yeah.
And it never stops, and that's what you just said before we started the interview. It's quite amazing that people can talk about this subject where nothing is said, and people spend a whole weekend in a sort of silent retreat with someone sitting there talking about the same subject for hours and hours, and at the end of the day or the end of the weekend, you would ask them, what did you talk about? Well, I don't know, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
But only interesting for the Desperate Seeker, I think.
In English.
My last name, Hogenberg.
Yeah, Hogenberg.
Hogenberg.
Hogen Mountain.
Hogenberg in English, I guess.
In English.
Yeah. It's so funny because I hardly ever remember people saying my last name in English.
Yeah, because you lived in Portugal for 10 years?
Nearly 10 years.
Oh, and we just had a conversation. You said we were already actually living like in the moment. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. Well, the beauty of this adventure going to Portugal was also because in those days, it's about 13 years ago now, I didn't really feel very at home in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like, didn't feel like I could ground here. And so I thought, my friends were already living there, 2 of my friends. So I thought, oh, okay, let's join them. And I didn't really have any plans. And that was also not really, my life was never really much like very much one direction. Okay, this is what I want in my life. I was searching, I was going places, I was traveling. But anyway, then I decided, okay, no, I'm not going to travel, but I'm going to live in another country, Portugal. And then from there, things were just appearing. Like I had a little bit of money to be able to start. And in those days, I was recently I did a study in a traditional Thai massage, which I practiced in Thailand. So then I had the idea, maybe I will go to the beach and I will give massage there.
And it worked?
No, because we didn't live near the beach, so I had to travel like 4 hours or so, and then a bit complicated. And I liked very much to stay in that place, which was very green, and we had our own water, our source.
Okay.
So it was, and then it was just like a little paradise in the middle of nowhere, actually.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was really like living day by day.
Yeah, because we were what was connecting us and is connecting us is like the childlike wonder.
Yeah.
That we all it's all there, and it's not wanting to make something more out of it.
Yeah. So there's actually like you're at ease with what is every day. At least you were in Portugal.
Yeah.
Because in Holland, you see everyone is like already busy when I will retire and what will be my future in the next 10 years.
Yeah. Even because I needed to make some income, and we were like pioneering there.
Yeah.
So I even was inventive to start to sell poffertjes on the streets.
Really? That's so funny.
and I had one, this cast iron, the old one, the old-fashioned one. And I built my own stand out of fabric and a table, and all very creative. And then I asked a friend in Holland or family, can you please send me not the cast iron one, but the one that is much cheaper from the Hema that is non-sticky. I don't know the
word
in
English.
So, and then they sent it to me, and then I asked permission to go to fairs and everything, and to be able to sell these poffertjes, these little pancakes. And so all these kind of things, well, I was just doing it, and it was giving a little bit of income, but mainly it was all discovering. And then after a while there came something else, and then I met some other people, and then I met my boyfriend, and then we started a restaurant, Yeah. Oh, and all of a sudden we were starting a restaurant, and
So life was busy while you were making other plans. Well, you weren't even making plans.
No.
It was just unfolding itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how did you start your spiritual journey? Or you never started it, actually?
I don't know. It was like this. When I was a child, my mom was starting her spiritual journey. And I was, I guess, 9 or something, 10, between 9 and 15, 16, that she was very busy with it. And
like in your toilet, I could
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I copied her now, but now it's not a problem for me anymore. But in those days, then there was something on the toilet wall, and it said, "Yeah, it's not the neighbor's fault. Don't point at the neighbors. Point at yourself," or something like that. And then, but the thing was that she was not able to do it herself because she was all the time pointing. So she was actually putting probably it there as a reminder to herself that she shouldn't point all the time at others or at my father, like that. Yeah. So, and I thought, this is not right. So I didn't for a very long time, and also when I was 16, I met my first true love. Yeah. And then
your first true love.
Yeah.
And my second true love.
Anyway, it was my big love. Yeah. And then my whole life went upside down, and then also there was for me a chance to break loose of everything, and also this idea of spirituality, because in a sense I felt that there was some I understood, because there was suffering, and she suffered, and she was looking therefore in other ways. So there was a search, and I always, even before my first relationship, I was always very reflective. I became very reflective. Okay. So I wrote poetry. And it was all, and I was also suffering. I also had pain because of the situations, and because of not understanding why is it like this and all that. So, but then I didn't start to look for spirituality in that sense. Okay. It's just that I met, and that's why I said my first love, because that was an important person in my life to give me really self-recognition, and also trying to understand how things are functioning psychologically wise. Yeah. So I started to understand more about my frustrations and emotions because of that, and things started to fall in place, and I understood it, but also was many times unable to act upon it. Yeah. Because it was still very much in the middle of it. And then when you are in the middle of something, then it's very difficult to just let it be.
Yeah, you mostly get stuck in it a little, don't have an overview. And then you see that what people teach is actually what they have to learn themselves the most.
Yeah.
But did it start rationally at that point, and then became more part of your life automatically? How did things go?
I was very much wanting to be loved, and I guess that I was frustrated because I couldn't find it, even when I was loved in a relationship. Yeah. So that really brought me back to heartbroken feelings of losing everything.
Yeah.
And so after my first relationship, I was unable to have any other relationship for many years.
Wow.
Because I was just so lost. I was just completely lost. So then I started to, even didn't know what to study. Well, I could do many things, but I was not clear in my emotions or in my head.
Yeah.
You know, it was all mixed up. So in the end, I started to study fashion, and because I'm a very creative person, and I also wanted to go to the Academy for Art.
Kunstacademie.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds amazing in English. Yeah.
You understand.
Yeah.
But in the end, I did fashion, and it was very nice. And so, but in the process of discovering things, I was always in a way very reflective.
Okay.
Yeah, and trying to understand why are things happening the way they're happening, and also knowing that there were insights that I understood why they were happening, completely clear to me, and that's also why many people asked me to help them.
Yeah.
Because I could see it very clear, but then I felt also awkward sometimes because I knew that I was not practicing exactly like my mom.
Okay.
Exactly like the example that I had in this pattern. So then sometimes I also felt, this is, maybe, but on the other hand, people like to have
you can even help people with that, even though it's not fully integrated in your life, of course.
Yeah.
And when you came across non-duality, I heard in the previous interview, it wasn't much of a surprise for you. How did it feel?
It was. There was just recognition, only recognition, in the sense of, okay, so this is what they mean. This is what they mean by the word non-duality describes what my life, what this is about, what my life is, what the way I am experiencing it. And I just never heard the word, even though I've also seen the movie, the Mahabharata, because I like the mystics. I like mystic stories.
Yeah, beautiful.
Because they are like, they're speaking in metaphors, and it's beautiful. But I was never looking for a teacher who was mentally or rationally explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you are coaching people,
Mm-hmm.
and what are these coachings about? What do you point to?
Always do the same thing.
You always do the same thing.
Yeah, in
you have a list of rules, you say.
More or less, it's always more. No, there's just absolutely no rules.
Okay.
That's just a funny thing, and I just listen.
Yeah.
And it always comes to the essence of not needing to do something special.
Yeah.
Not needing to go and gather more information because everything is already there.
Yeah.
And not needing to improve things, but see what is already there.
Yeah.
That's in a way that's always what it comes to.
What's the biggest struggle for people in their lives?
To accept the way life is, as it is.
And it simply is as it is.
Yeah.
But I think we're mostly conditioned with ideas that this present moment is just not quite good enough. You always have to be in the next step.
Yeah.
And then people, they suffer. And then you say?
Yeah. Just let it be and experience what it does, what happens then.
Yeah.
Just to let it fall wherever it falls. and this is also because I can only speak from my own experience as well, and I think that's also the frame that you relate to.
Absolutely.
And so, well, for me also, I lost many things, or I went through many processes of frustration and not finding, for example, to fill the emptiness, but the emptiness like a hole, like you many times you feel the frustration and the powerful and the powerless feelings, and you can't feel it. It's like an ongoing thing, and that also I had to let it go.
Yeah.
And so from there I just gave into life, not knowing what comes next, and that gave in instant liberty.
Yeah.
It was scary. It was scary as hell, but it gave.
It's like you're driving in the car and suddenly you let go of the wheel.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god, the car's still driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, that's quite a tough thing. You're so conditioned with the idea that you are a separate person and that you have to control your life and make the right decisions, and that you could have done things differently. How's your experience also with other people? Is this something you can just tell them, or is it something which is a long process for someone? What's your experience in this?
You mean with people in my own environment?
Yeah.
Well, there's not many people.
That's okay.
There's not many
just
people.
Those two.
Yeah, I find the question a little bit hard because yeah.
You just have no friends. I have no friends.
I have nobody to play with. No, it's not like that. But well, the what I noticed, for example, I came back to Holland.
Yeah.
And I first I stayed with a friend for a couple of months, and then it was in an area of Holland, the polder, and it was good. But after a couple of months, I felt like, yeah, it's good to go to the west where things are happening.
Yeah, things happen here in life.
So then I asked my parents if I could stay there for a couple of weeks, because I thought I'm not going to stay very long.
Yeah.
And then that couple of weeks became months, and this couple of months became nearly 2 years. And in these 2 years, if you're asking about how is this in your environment, we didn't see each other for many years.
Yeah.
And our relationship was not bad, but it got another dimension by just being in the same house again.
Yeah.
The house where I grew up. And I also was there like, okay, well, let's see what happens, you know. I was not there to say like, you should do it like this. All these things were not for me. I was just feeling like, I'm open to meet and get to know each other, like humans, like persons, not like just parents and child relationship. And that was very interesting, and I know that for the three of us, it all was very, very interesting, very, beautiful.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Because normally they say if you think you're enlightened, go and live with your parents.
Yeah.
And then we'll see.
Yeah.
If you freak out.
Of course, there were moments that were like clashing.
Yeah.
Because I was saying, I don't know what's going to happen next. Yeah, but when are you going? When will you have a house? And when are you? When do you have a job? And of course, I understand. And then I had to say, I'm really doing my best. But also, I trust. I feel so much trust in life. You know.
Yeah.
That was the beauty. Just and if they would say, okay, you have to get out on the street, okay, then I'm sure that would happen something else.
Yeah.
Because that happened already when I left.
But this is the
Portugal.
deep trust that life is in a way carrying you instead of you are controlling life.
Yeah.
But that's like such a, let's say, surrender to really understand that this is just one energy in movement.
Yeah.
But you never found that quite scary?
Yeah, I did. Because the previous years in Portugal, it was not easy at all.
Okay.
I mean, it is a beautiful country, and we had a beautiful place where we could live. And we helped each other, and luckily we had each other, because therefore we carried each other in every way, actually, because just by helping physically, but also sometimes financially, we gave each other assignments, or we said, okay, I am a little bit better now, but you can help me with that. And then the other one was doing less. So, but many times it was very, very tight, and we had nearly no money.
Yeah.
And then we just had to, we always were inventive. What shall we do next? Oh, let's start a home restaurant. Let's go to the market and sell all the clothes that we have in our storage. Or I'm going to make jam out of the fruits from the neighbor land, you know. So it was always and that was a beautiful way of just living. I mean, it was really not easy, but it was the flexibility that you have in that way of living is beautiful, and it's most near to living as a child.
Yeah.
Really. It was really like, and then we met people, and people came, and we were always like, oh yeah, welcome, you know. This was like people also attracted to this, because it was like we were like a kind of a womb where everybody was welcome, and then we had abundance, even though we didn't have the material richness.
Yeah. And so you're saying just like a child. I think, isn't it so that we're longing as an adult for the freedom we had as a child?
Yeah, definitely.
So what's the difference between a child and an adult?
No difference. Just the body that is seems.
But it seems that the identification, the belief in the separation that you are someone, gets stronger the older you get.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible that the identification gets stronger, but also that's the interesting part that I also experienced was while staying with my parents, and I'm the youngest of three, and my parents are, they are 80 in last year they became 80. So, I could say, and in many years I said also about them, why don't you change, and what's wrong with you, and I had all these. I said, oh, you should divorce, and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
But then when I was staying with them, and I was just there, open, and also not expecting anything.
Yeah.
Because I was happy with whatever. Because I didn't have money, I was just happy with anything. So in that environment, everything came more gentle and soft in a way, and opening. And even while I was not saying, like I was already saying, you should do different. In this environment, energetically, things were how you say that, losweken. It was getting loose. It
Yeah.
was getting, patterns were melting away.
Yeah.
It was just beautiful, and I was seeing, and I was just, and inside I thought, oh yeah, you know, this
That's
is so,
really
yeah, it's so great. It's so great.
Is it the dropping away of all these thoughts that things should be in a certain way or that they should be different? Did they like fade away? All those expectations?
You mean with them or with me?
With everything.
It can. It can just drop away. I mean, with the me, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
A moment, and I was staying with my parents. I was just there a couple of months, and I looked at my mom, and I see nothing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, there was just nothing to hold on to.
No.
It was just, and she energetically felt it. She was like, because she always could grab me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, but I know I can, you know, influence you, or I know you, or whatever. And it was just like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do?
Yeah.
And
But this is what you often hear. If someone like sees through the illusion, then it's harder for other people to manipulate you, because they fire all kinds of judgments or ideas upon you, and you're like, yeah, it's fine.
yeah, exactly.
Did you also have that with friends, for instance?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, also friends that, well, as I said, I don't have many friends, but the friends that I have,
Yeah.
they are dear to me. Sometimes there's just fixed ideas based on patterns from the past.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, and when this happens, I just let it. I don't go defending myself about anything. I just let it. And then energetically, it just happens. They start to behave different. That's actually what I noticed the strongest change happening around me.
Yeah.
That without wanting to change, and that was also something that I learned with my friends, researching all the psychological patterns and emotional patterns.
Mm-hmm.
That I always heard the same thing, like, you don't have to change, you can never change somebody else.
Yeah.
Change starts here, not there. But that was just theory.
Yeah.
That was knowledge, knowing of something. And that's why, no, I don't think that's why, but for me, knowing was never superior to anything other than experience.
Yeah.
For me, life is really like one big, amazing roller coaster of all kinds of experiences.
Yeah. It's as easy as that, actually.
Yeah.
But it's a Zen story that says, once you see this, you drop down your dirty laundry for a while, and it's like, wow. But then after enlightenment, they say, you pick up the dirty laundry again and you walk on. So what they actually point at is that even though you see through the illusion and you know this is all one movement, one dance, it doesn't mean that all your psychological damages, your traumatic experiences, that they are gone. Did you experience that as well? That like certain conditioning still goes on?
I have really noticed that most of the conditioning, I mean, there is conditioning, of course. There's preferences, and there's
just like your cat here.
Exactly.
It's conditioned.
Yeah. And I love spicy food, and I love
the
chocolate, and I like sunshine. Yeah, precies. So that I call that also conditioning.
Of course, yeah.
But conditioning in the sense of emotional
damages
or traumas.
Yeah.
What I do notice is that when I get in contact with people that are completely identified with their traumas,
Yeah.
that my body, mainly my body, starts to resonate with it.
Wow. Yeah.
So then it starts to resonate, and then of course the body, there's the memory in the body. It's all energetically somewhere there, memory. It's just build up energy. So I can feel this, and then I feel, oh yeah, this is not mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I could get upset or angry or something that gets triggered.
Yeah.
But mostly it's I recognize very quickly that it's not mine. And so it doesn't mean that I'm only sweet and everything, but there is a certain balance that is very stable. But that's just with me.
Yeah.
I know also other people that are very awakened in a way, and they don't have this at all. They are very chaotic or bad humor or frustrations.
And even people who have can be so strongly identified with their own pain, their own traumas, that it's part of their identity. I don't know if you've experienced this in coaching, but sometimes if you take someone's trauma away, it's like, oh, wait a minute, because it's part of who I am.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
could be so strong.
Yeah, exactly. That, because if you take that away, you can't take it away anyway. But if somebody's pulling at it, or people can get really offensive, because this became a new kind of comfort zone. This became a new safety.
Yeah.
Being abused or being beaten or whatever trauma, that's the new shape in which love appears.
Yeah.
And then